You ready? Let's do it. Hey, what's good, Jivas, and welcome back to Jiva Talks. I'm your host, Nita, aka Jiva, and we're back with episode 13. As you know, episode 13 is a part 2 of episode 12, is the continuation of a conversation that I had with Mamu Thakur about 3 months ago while I was still back in Mayapur. I just want to say I haven't been able to put as much content as I wanted, or as fast as I wanted, both on the podcast and Instagram. The last 3 months have been really crazy with lots of traveling, moving countries. Also, my health hasn't been the best recently. But I just want to say, thank you for your patience, thank you for your support, for liking, for your comments, for everything. It means a lot to me. And just wanted to open up the episode with gratitude, and I'm trying to get back on track and putting more content out there. So as I said, episode 13 is a continuation of that conversation. If you haven't watched episode 12, I highly recommend you watch it. You can press pause here, go back to that one, and then come back here. But if you don't want to do it, I'll give you a too long didn't read summary of what happened in episode 12. We were basically talking about institutional guilt tripping, and I brought this concept or idea. I called it selective punishment, and it's basically my observation of how those in positions of power, the management, get judged differently when they fall from grace as us below them. And how the institution deals with us when we're unable to fulfill our vows, keep our vows, or follow the rules, or when we make mistakes. So the episode deals with guilt tripping in that way. We also speak about the importance of studying Shastra to understand who to associate with, and what else? I got my notes here. There's that, and the importance also of going deeper, so that we don't merge our consciousness or merge our personality with the institution. Spiritual life goes beyond that. We're going to talk about more on that on this episode. But we basically wrap up episode 12 speaking about also the importance of meeting devotees where they're at, with compassion, with humanity, with care, instead of just immediately judging someone for not following certain standards before we accept them as devotees or as a member of our institution or spiritual missions, whatever you want to call it. So there's different stories, but there's also a cool story about a friend of mine who got judged by her seniors, her superiors, and she got embarrassed, I would say, in front of her community for not being she got singled out, that's what I want to say, for not being able to follow Ekadashi. And we'll discuss that, and then other stories about how we are judged by the management, by the seniors, and how that is also used as a tool for control. So that's episode 12. On episode 13, what are we going to talk about? Let me check my notes. On episode 13, we also speak about guilt, but from a different perspective. So the previous episode was from the point of view of the institution. Today's episode is about us and how there's so much danger in setting unachievable standards, things that we can't follow, but we do it to be able to fit in, to be accepted as part of a group. But what happens is that when we're unable to when we're unable to follow those unachievable standards, thus comes this guilt feeling that we brought upon ourselves. And so there's going to be much more stuff on this. Stay tuned. Episode 13 is about to start. I also wanted to talk about I think we mentioned a lot of things from the institutional side, but I feel like guilt is not just fueled by the institution.
Of course, we've mentioned that they have a big responsibility, but it is also our fault when we set unachievable standards, and then we judge ourselves for not fulfilling them, for not fulfilling our promises. Um, and I wanted to just touch upon that too, just to have a more balanced episode. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm just writing this down now, just so it's fresh and I can revert back to it. But yeah, really good point. Like that it doesn't necessarily have to be fueled by the institution and can be my own. Because that could also reflect back on maybe advice that we've been given by senior devotees, or can also reflect back on just our own personal tendencies before we even met devotees. Because we
Correct.
tend to
Yeah.
do that anyway, Like I set way too high expectations of myself and then just walk around feeling like I'm a piece of shit all the time because I can't actually attain them. I can't ever reach them. So yeah, I mean, this point, again, like accepting what's favorable for bhakti and rejecting what's unfavorable, and how that isn't just so black and white. It's
Correct. Yeah.
so, multifaceted, because, you know, maybe what's helpful for someone is actually like maybe being a bit heavy at certain times in their life, either on themselves or from other people. Maybe that's helpful, but maybe what's helpful for someone else is being a little bit gentle, being a little bit sensitive, being a little bit more tolerant and patient with ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe
Obviously,
again from the personal
obviously, we need to
situation.
be our ego needs to be smashed also sometimes. Like, um,
Yeah.
so it depends on how we take it too. So
Or
again,
by who?
by who,
Or who's smashing it?
Yeah, yeah. So it
Is
go
it
it all.
Krishnadas Brahmachari? Or is it, some actually qualified Vaishnav who has a relationship with us so we
Yeah.
can trust?
So there's the balance there, like the institution, the part of the institution is that, they have to do their homework and, just trying to figure their own things and who are they're putting in positions of power, but also who we are. Like, we have our responsibility. We have to be self-aware and see, like, okay, who am I approaching for this particular issue, and how am I taking what they're saying? Like,
Hmm.
I've been fortunate enough to have certain Vaishnavas that have, come in my life as teachers, and they have not always been nice. They have been really nice, really human, and but also they have smashed me for, I don't know, like messing up the offering, or or coming late to a parikram, or and it makes me think, oh, I should be more responsible. Oh, I should, think of others. But the difference is that on the institutional aspect is that this sadhu uh, has given me a personal relationship, right? And a
Hmm.
full relationship is not just the I'm higher, you're lower, but on my end too, it's like understanding that I messed up today and it's my fault, and not let the ego get on my way, and also understand that I'm not perfect and I'm not that Vaishnava I think I am, and I'm in this position. So I'm trying to bring that balance also to this conversation, that we have this idea that we just need to be like everybody else to be accepted, and circling back to our talk about spiritual authenticity, and it's like, oh, if I follow every single thing that my guru says, that my leaders say, everything, just to be part of the group, um,
Yeah.
it's not sustainable, and we're gonna feel guilty for our, whenever we fall down. And falling
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
yeah, falling down. I mean, just like, oh, breaking the regular principles, just like anything, because we're afraid of, well, Vaishnava Para, we're afraid of letting others down, but we will, and it's part of normal relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes me even reflect on my own experience. Like I remember when I first met my Guru Maharaj, I had this whole, God, it's so cringy now. I look back at it. Like, you know, I'm okay. I might not be a perfect devotee, but like, I'm a quite good devotee. Like, I have these thinking like this. I'm not perfect. I have my desires, but I'm pretty good. Like, and I remember he asked me, at the time we were in Colombia, and he asked me, I want you to stay here in this ashram for the rest of your life. Stay here. I'll get deities of Radha Krishna. You can worship them, and you can be like the pujari of this kind of place. You know,
It
I think it would be great. I think it would be great for you.
would
And
have
then
been
I was
great.
confronted with where I actually am at. And where I'm actually at, if I'm realistic, is that I can't surrender to everything that my guru has asked me to do. And I'm not that renounced, and I don't have that much love for Radha and Krishna, and I'm not that much of a pujari, you know? And I was just, I was just like, when I was confronted with that, it's like, what do I do with this information now? Because in one sense, if I then am upfront with my guru about it, then he sees exactly where I'm at. And I'm not, and then he knows I'm not such an amazing devotee as I
Obviously,
tell
yeah.
them, think that I am, you know? And then I also have to be honest, well, then I'm not such an amazing person. But then the other side of that is if I go through with his instruction,
You'll
no
feel
doubt I will.
frustrated, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I feel frustrated. It's not really 100% my nature.
Yeah, but you're a
It
good
would have,
pujari though. You're good at decorating, way better than I am.
well,
No,
but I'm not, well, even,
I'm just
oh
saying.
my God, but it's like, I was confronted with, okay, well, where am I actually at? And then me being honest means that the Sangha then has to know I'm not that amazing. My guru has to know I'm not that amazing. And that in of itself creates a whole other,
Right, because then the whole show is like destroyed, right? Because then you had your own ideas of yourself. The congregation
yeah,
thinks you're this pure devotee. Then you're confronted with your Guru Maharaj asking you for, to fulfill this particular instruction, and it's like,
yeah,
but that's the whole process of an alternate vritti. And I always say that in my, one-to-one talks is like, we're not perfect. We're not perfect, and the more we get into this, the process of an alternate vritti will show us that all our
mm,
crap is going to come out and
mm,
might not come out, like it's not going to come out immediately. I mean, at least in my life, like I also had those moments when I was given an opportunity to serve a particular yatra community, and instead of
mm,
walking with gratitude that I was given this opportunity, um, I thought of myself something that I was not, because of the
mm,
position I was giving. Which now looking back, it was good that it was a wake up call now, but back in the day, it was just like maybe I was too full of myself. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
you will find an opportunity. Sorry, not an opportunity. An event will come into your life that will force you to confront your bullshit, and that's what it comes with an
yeah,
arts and activity. So we shouldn't be scared of. It's the problem is that we're scared. We feel guilty, or we just feel confused because we have this idea that I have joined the society of devotees. I've started chanting Hare Krishna. I follow this and this Prabhuji. I've done the parikrams. I've taken, a 2-month course in Mayapur. I should be here, and I'm not. And there's something
mm,
wrong with it. And if somebody finds out, I'll be, judged. And then again, the whole different ramifications that will come from that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think again, it reflects back on, again, your point of, being authentic, spiritual authenticity, being honest. And again, why I think your idea for this in your podcast is absolutely amazing. Um, because there's such a need for it. Just being able to be in a sangha where we can be authentic. And I mean, sangha, even just having like a few devotees we can open up to about everything, where we can be authentic.
Yeah.
And, it also then reflects back on this point of maybe those people that are guilt tripping themselves. Maybe they don't necessarily have so much of a steady understanding of where they're actually at, either because of their own ego protecting themselves or because the
Mm.
Sangha doesn't encourage authenticity and honesty. So I, one thing that came to mind, I don't know if it's the full answer, but it might be part of an answer, or at least open up discussion about, um, this point of like guilt tripping ourselves a lot. I think it might help if we're maybe, again, honest with ourselves where we're at, and we have a steady understanding where I'm at, and then being able to understand the next step means this. Instead of just like a shot in the dark, the best thing I should do should chant be like 5 lakhs by now.
Yeah, oh my
It's like
God,
maybe the
Kartik,
best.
Kartik is coming. I should stake my vows. And, I used to be like that too, like put a
Yeah.
lot of unnecessary, unrealistic expectations and vows that I know that I couldn't fulfill.
Yeah. Yeah. Like maybe the best Kartik, rata I can have is to just maybe try not to, I don't know, eat garlic and onion, or maybe not chocolate for 1 month. Maybe that's real. Maybe
That was a
that's
tough
where I'm
one.
at, and that's completely fine. It's where I'm at. If it's not,
You're
I
giving
don't
me
know.
you're
Maybe the
giving me
best.
ideas. You're giving me ideas for my vows.
I don't mean to discourage. If someone wants to chant a lek and Kartik, Jai, Haribol, all glories to you. Please let me get the dust from your feet afterwards. But I'm just saying, like, maybe the best thing for some people, the next step is just chanting 2 rounds. And
Right.
that's amazing. Maybe that's the next step, and that's fine. I don't mean to discourage people that want to go all out. If they can, Jai, Haribol, but it turns out in the long run, looking at the history of our movement, these huge steps rarely pay off and are rarely realistically
Good point.
fruitful in
Yeah.
the long term.
I was just going to say that.
So yeah. So maybe these little steps are best. And I think that these little steps can be taken when we actually understand where we're at. And when we understand where we're at, when we understand where we're at, then it's easier to do these things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we should also, again, like just be aware that not everybody that's under the institution is perfect, and the institution and the devotees inside the institution have made mistakes because of that. And just looking through history, not just deny everything and sweep everything under the rug that everything's been perfect. Like with the whole onion, garlic, tea, coffee, chocolate thing, friends of mine have been judged. I've been judged for it. Like I remember when I went on my honeymoon, and then we put some stories, right? And then
Yeah.
I mean, you would not believe the amount of devotees who would, random people I don't even know, would like just DM me and be like, "Oh my God, are you eating onion garlic? Or what are you doing?" And like immediately judging you for that. And maybe that's
Did it
just
make you want to stop? Did it make you want to stop eating garlic or whatever?
no, because first of all, I knew myself. I was like, I'm not straight up being like, oh, waiter, can I have an extra set of onions? Like time. I'm practical, and it's like time, place, and circumstance. And if you're traveling in India, that onion garlic means a lot of onion garlic. It's not like in the West, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I try to explain to some devotees, it's like maybe your conscience is different because in India, people actually order. I've seen people ordering like a side of onions with like mirchi, with like garlic, and with what do you call that, chili, right?
Yeah.
But that's not a thing that happens in the West, and the foodstuffs that contain garlic and onion are much less. Whatever, maybe that's my excuse. That's my standard. Maybe I do eat out. Maybe you don't eat out, and that's okay. It doesn't, like, just because you saw me going to a restaurant that potentially, because you didn't even know, but potentially has onion garlic. Immediately I am to be judged, and okay, whatever, maybe that's your standard, maybe that's not my standard, and but the point that I want to make is that I've seen devotees get so worked up about it, like even about drinking soda and whatever, and I just wish we were, as worried about being good, decent human beings first as much as we're worried about eating onion garlic.
Yeah, my God. And again, that doesn't inspire me to want to stop eating or doing that.
Yeah.
Like I have this horrible tendency, like where if people, this is really bad actually, but if people if people are being negative and telling me why I shouldn't do something and trying to guilt trip me, I have this tendency to really want to do that thing. This is really bad.
No,
Really
I get it. I get it.
It's good. But I have this thing, I'm like, you want to tell me to do that? Screw you, man. I'm just going to do it anyway, just in spite of you. Even if it's bad for me.
No, but I get you. Yeah. And you're not the only one. I mean, I've been in situations like that too. And I guess it comes from my rebellious past and too much punk rock or whatever. But I mean, you see that in every aspect of devotee life. It's like, you have to follow my standard, which is the temple standard, which is, I read it in this book. And if you don't follow Akadashi, you're onion garlic, it's basically you're eating meat and you're a fallen devotee. But then, it also extends to chanting. For example, like, you have no idea how many times I've met devotees who have said, Prabhu, how many rounds do you chant? Like, what do you care?
Yeah.
Like, because it's the same.
And also our bhajan's meant to be personal.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's a whole nother talk with the whole who's your guru talk. I made a video on Instagram, but it didn't get taken down, but it's just, you can't play it anymore somehow. Maybe got flagged. I don't know. But it's, we could talk about it some other time, but it's just this whole, necessity of advertising your bhajan. Who's your guru? How many rounds you chant? How many vrats are you taking? Whatever. And it's just like, again, it's to judge and guilt trip others. Like, I have another, a friend of mine who's like, he is unable to complete 16 rounds. He's chanted 16 rounds before, and he has a full-time job and whatever. It doesn't matter, because whatever you say will always be looked. It will be you will be looked as you're making excuses. Does that make sense? But it's real for him, and it's like he felt guilt tripped, and he basically, just to make the story short, he came to the point that he did not want to chant anymore. He didn't feel like chanting. He didn't want to come to the temple for RT for nothing. He even blocked devotees from his Instagram. And again, that's not an isolated case. It's like we're pushing people away with our fanatism, with our weird cultish behavior. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, and it's
Mm.
also like this whole point of don't eat garlic and onion. I want to pose the question to these devotees. How much chili are you eating? How much
Oh,
sugar are you indulging in? You
oh,
know,
gulab
it's
jamun
like,
and rasmalai and
yeah, because it's like, what's the principle here? Why don't
why,
we discourage from eating garlic and onion? And
dude?
if it's to indulge the tongue, well then ask again the question, why is it that we shouldn't be indulging the tongue? Like, I
Dude.
feel like sometimes there's things we read in Shastra. Sorry, I'll just get this train of thought out and then I'll finish. But sometimes we read things in Shastra like a rule that we should follow, and we have no understanding of why it's actually there. And then we just preach and hound people that they should be following the rule. But that in of itself is not what our acharyas have recommended. We should be following rules with an understanding of why, not
Exactly.
rejecting them,
And
also not accepting them
oh
without.
God,
Yeah.
it's like we give up our own individuality. And it's I've been trying to speak about this for ages. I mean, I remember there was a story I posted on Instagram that my wife made eggplant sabji or something, right? And then some devotees were like, you shouldn't eat eggplants because it's chaturmas and whatever. And it's true, you shouldn't eat eggplants, right? And I said, okay, the reason why I'm eating it is because I'm conditioned. I'm culturally conditioned by this dish, right? And I know I've never told Krishna that I was not going to eat eggplants. How do you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then the whole conversation went on the whole onion garlic eggplant thing, and I was like, it reminded me when you say that, like how much, what do you say, how many sweets you're eating, and what else?
Chili
Right?
or sugar.
Yeah. So it's like if you want to be strict about it, have you read the Hari Bhakti Vilas? And he says that we shouldn't eat, and I can't, maybe I'll look for the verse later, but it's like, you shouldn't eat eggplant. Yes. You shouldn't eat onion garlic. You shouldn't eat potatoes. You should not eat carrots, certain leafy greens,
Hmm.
and a bunch of other stuff like that are, these things are, they're the basis of all the sabjis in temples.
Yeah, yeah. How far do we go?
So
It
how
even
far do you
says,
want to go?
I'm sure there's a place, I'm like 90% sure I read somewhere in Hari Bhakti Vilas that it's like we shouldn't be shaking our beads and our japa bag.
Oh my God. I remember that.
I'm like 90% sure I've read that. And I'm just thinking like, oh my God, every day I feel like if my hand's in my japa bag, I'm just shaking my beads, you know? So it's like, how far do we go with all of this?
Hey, bro, I think it helps me focus. Not gonna lie. Like I sometimes I'm shaking.
Yeah, same.
But it's like it's this whole thing, and then I can't remember what was the answer of this person. Either he kept bickering or he shut up. I can't remember because he was not like
Mhm.
a person that I interact daily with. But
Yeah.
and you can say, oh no, he was a troll, whatever. Don't pay attention to him. But it's like it's again, it's not an isolated case. There's a lot of people that think like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna judge this person for. So what's worse? It's like, oh, there's onion, garlic, there's tea, there's chocolate, there's but you're eating an unhealthy. You might be avoiding onion, garlic, and chocolates and sweets and sodas, but how much chili are you putting in your prasad? Or you're eating potatoes,
Yeah.
and Sanatan Goswami said no potatoes. Like, how far are you going to take it? What does traditional mean anyway at this point? How far you want to go, and for what? So it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
And devotees.
if you fall off that ideal devotee model that I've created in my head, of that I just read in a random book, not a random book, but I mean I just read in Shastra, you're not that. You fall off from that model, then I should just categorize you as a X, Y, and Z fallen devotee.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also like again, like okay, you're eating, let's say garlic and onion, eggplant or whatever it is. It's like it'll also be devotees that even if it's not garlic and onion or eggplant, they'll be like, oh, but is it vegan prasad? There's
Oh,
so many devotees that no, I won't eat it unless it's vegan prasad, and guilt tripping like unless you're eating vegan prasad, then you're a horrible person, and it's just
yeah.
like, dude, I literally grew up eating cows, and you're telling me that I can't eat eggplant? I literally grew up doing the most sinful things, and you're telling me now that I'm just as
Uh,
sinful because I eat garlic or chocolate sometimes,
oh,
because I
you
don't eat
ate
carrot?
you ate this red dal, which is equal to eating meat.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Like, guys, chill out. Jesus, please. Like, the fact
And
I'm eating prasad is a
exactly.
miracle.
And because we've set this like absolutely on what was the word, like unreasonable and unattainable standard for the majority of us,
Uh-huh.
then we sabotage ourselves and we start just feeling guilty for not being able
Mm,
to follow the program.
mm,
You know,
totally.
another thing that I wanted to bring up is devotees often feel guilty about just wanting things. You know, like not just uh, like I mean about personal development beyond, like things that go beyond living at the mat, living at the temple. Sometimes
Uh-huh.
devotees are filled with guilt for having their own desires. And I'm not talking about just material, like crazy material desires, but just like having their own ideas of how to live a healthy life, that doesn't include like living with the congregation all the time, but rather maybe, alive in the functioning outside world. It's just like we've created this idea that everything outside is bad. There's full of karmis and you're not going to find anything there. And the only reason why we're there is for preaching, you know, and you should come and live with us. And, you see so many devotees coming to the Dham to live. And I mean, that's a whole nother question. Like how much bhakti are, whatever, how much activities are we doing in the Dham that are conductive to pure bhakti? But it's, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's like that's a issue that we've seen in our movement since it began, you know. Like the whole you're in Maya unless you're living in the temple, you know. All the grihastas that left the temple were like just looked at as being like the lowest of the low, like so fallen, but just because they left the temple, you know, back in the day. And now it seems to be, I mean, I don't think it's as prominent, but it's definitely still there for sure. You know, you were a brahmachari and you want to like no longer be a brahmachari. It's like this area of sensitivity, like people are
right.
afraid to say that. Again, I feel like a healthy environment should support this, you know, like you're saying, like not crazy desires, but then even to, I mean, this could be controversial, but even to an extent of if someone has crazy desires, let's say it's obviously not things that are like detrimental to other people's welfare, but like we should to some degree find out how to at least encourage those people, not like saying we support them if people want to do things like crazy, but like for example, Prabhupada said at Gita Nagari that they'll, I remember being told this by a devotee. He gave us like some tour around Gita Nagari and was quoting all these things Prabhupada said. And one of the things that he said was that there'll be a time when society collapses and people will come to our farms and we need to give them shelter. We have to support them. And they'll come to our farms and they'll still have like bad tendencies. A lot of
Yeah.
them will still want to eat meat even. And Prabhupada said we
Imagine.
can't turn them away. We can't turn them away. We'll give them a place on the property that's like away from us, you know, but we can't turn them away. So like to what, you know, I'm not encouraging meat eating or anything, but all I'm saying is that
No,
it
yeah, I
seemed
get you.
like
I get you. Yeah.
there was a mood of still encouragement, not just rejection, but like in the face of crazy desires, let's say like take extreme or something, like even then I feel like we should be able to encourage,
Yeah. It's
not
because,
just,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah. I mean, just thinking, I was like, we paint this picture. Like, yeah, the world's messed up. It's true. But we can't say the, Hare Krishna communities are any better. Like you
Hmm.
see, unfortunately, a lot of abominable activities happening within, the modern Hare Krishna movement. And the thing is, I'm just worried about, I'm worried about the new devotees or new people joining, the people that we're preaching to,
Hmm. Hmm.
about, yeah, the whole like, you have to be this way and you have to give up your, I mean, it might not be openly set like that, but it's like you're expected to, um, the proper living the proper Hare Krishna life, I mean, giving up on your dreams or your talents to live this a forced, a life of forced surrender or austerity or even poverty that ultimately they won't be able to sustain because they're not at that level. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, I might be wrong, but I think that even like forcing this lifestyle on people might lead to so many of the evils that we see within the institution. Like, what I mean is that there could be a correlation with like unfulfilled desires and which I'm gonna call like management abuse, sexual abuse in any ashram, and just the overall toxic environment. You know.
I think you could be really onto something there, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think that's a really, really amazing point, and that could be it. Um, um, yeah, man. I mean, God,
I can't obviously I can't prove it, but it's just like seeing the history of the movement, you know, and seeing people,
yeah,
you know, just either becoming egomaniacs and abusing everything, everybody, and just abusing people, abusing the resources of the community, etc. And then you see the other end of it, like people uh, giving up on Krishna consciousness or in spirituality in general
yeah,
because of how they're just burned. They're used as
yeah,
labor, as whatever, just because they can't maintain a certain standard, or they were initially forced to um, live a particular Hare Krishna life that was sustainable without the person that cultivated this devotee without didn't have again the personal approach to understand where this person fits within the society. Like it happened to me. Like I had when I was living in this temple. I mean, on and off. Like I was still sleeping at home, but I would just go there and spend the whole day after I finished high school. At some point, I knew that my time was up, and I wanted to study. At the time, I wanted to study psychology, and the temple basically just stopped me. And just to make the story short, they were trying to force me to believe that my position right now as a new bhakta was to clean toilets for the next 3 years. And of course, that didn't sit well with my parents because they were like, "What the hell are you doing there?" Like first of all, they were not happy about the whole me joining a different spiritual movement, whatever religion. And
hmm
they find out that I'm doing more toilet cleaning than actually study of shastra. That just looks a little bit, that just looks odd. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's what, and yeah, like what is, you got to wonder as well, like what is the mentality of a person? What's the psychological backing of a person that is willing to, we grew up in a society that's pretty much the opposite of what we're presented in our Christian consciousness movement.
Right.
And then we're willing to completely reject all of that and then head
Immediately.
first dive into something that's the complete opposite. Like, I feel like, I mean, I know for myself, when I joined the movement, I wasn't in the best mental state. And that played a big role in me even joining, which in one sense is positive because I joined, but in another sense, it created so many issues. And now I'm years later, finally becoming a little bit more mentally healthy and then realizing like, oh shit, like I was quite fanatic for many years there. And for me, it was because I was mentally unhealthy.
Right.
So I can't say that for everyone. There's certainly certain people that join and they're full steam ahead, renounce and everything, and that's amazing. And there's a small percentage where that's real. But for the majority of us, I feel like it's not necessarily so real. And it's coming from a place of maybe, you know, being unhealthy to some degree, maybe mentally, or maybe not sound in our, in our, in ourselves or comfortable in
Right.
ourselves.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, and because most people take any of course many devotees will just flag this, they're unhealthy because they're not Krishna conscious, but just what I'm thinking, take any mentally healthy person these days, karmi, and introduce them to our movement, no way in hell they'll join, because it's like there's so many fanatics and so much like
That's such
abuse
a
that's
good
going
point.
on. Why would they want to?
That's such a good point.
What will attract a mentally healthy, balanced, successful person to
Whoa.
join our movement? What do we have that will attract them? Fanaticism? No.
No.
Community? In many cases, no. You know, like, healthy guidance?
Oh
No.
God, that's such a good point, man. It's such a good point. And that's connected also with the whole fact that maybe we're preaching to the wrong people, or the way we're preaching, or the way we're presenting the philosophy is attracting uh, unstable people that we don't have that capacity to help. You know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And again, coming from a place of we can't give what we don't have, maybe we can't give it because we don't have it.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't provide facility for like mentally stable, balanced, healthy, talented people of society because we don't know how to preach them because we don't necessarily have it ourselves.
It's just so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like attracts like, I suppose, you know, um, unfortunately, or, yeah, I mean, maybe yeah, maybe would be able to cater to those that are more materially balanced, if we ourselves had more of a grip on those things, you
True.
know. Um,
I remember there was a I was this is another community I was serving. There was a local not local, sorry, a guru that traveled to that area, and he had a lot of disciples there, right? So his main thing was, what I observed was to like force his disciples to live very austere. Like it was an
mm,
unnecessary life of austerity because he felt that that's conducted to Krishna consciousness. And maybe it is for him. Maybe he's able to live that life because he's a sannyasi and, never gotten married and probably has his whole life paid by the institution. But when you're when your main thing is to, oh, I'll accept you if you live very simple, because simple living, high thinking, and just chant and be happy. Just the slogans that we just throw out there, right? Without actually understanding how people relate to these things, because we like people also don't have enough guru tattva. They surrender to this person because he's a good speaker or whatever, sings good and whatnot, and they end up trapped in that system or in that relationship with that particular guru for ages, until they realize that they probably made a bad decision, or they fix their life and they say, no, I can't live like that. But when that point comes, they leave the society altogether. They don't, and sorry, they leave their spiritual journey altogether because they connect spiritual journey with the society. And oh, the society did this, this what you call it, like messed up my life, right? So there's no way I can go back. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's extremely unfortunate. It also makes me think that we're very much, I think, slaves to our circumstance, no matter where we are. Like, I think the only
Mm,
things that are our kind of beacon or like a lighthouse, or how should we say, like saving grace, is either Krishna's direct mercy, which, yeah, mercy, we don't deserve it, or like he, out of his mercy, pulls us out of something that we wouldn't generally be able to come out of, or him giving us, Shastra or Guru to be able to understand Shastra so we can discriminate where we're at and then how to get out. Otherwise, I feel like we're just thrown around, either outside the movement or inside the movement. I think until we come to a point of being able to understand Shastra and potentially introduce it into our own lives to the capacity that's relevant, then we're just going to be, there's not much hope, I think. Maybe that's a bit bleak. Maybe edit that out. Maybe it's not even right. I don't know. Anyway, but I'm just thinking because it's like, yeah, it's very harsh, I think, sometimes what devotees go through and,
yeah,
what we
it's.
go through.
I mean, I think
I wonder if it's,
we've all experienced it in some way or another, and that's also the point of this uh, podcast or project, whatever you want to call it, is to just offer a different narrative. Like in mm, the previous episode, yeah, on the institutional episode, I was telling a story that I never told anyone. I think I even never told you about how this how I was basically not abused. I mean, it's a big word, but I had a physical encounter with a person in power. I
Mhm.
had, because of my rebellious nature, I had some verbal encounters with people in management, but this time was different because it became physical and in a position that I had no way to defend myself. And basically,
Mhm.
this person hit me. I'm not gonna say everything now because if you haven't heard the story, you should go on on the episode and hear it. But it's like it's just so crazy that this person thought it was okay to uh get physical, basically, like hit me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also what happened to you in Grudge that time with
Oh
the people
God.
coming up to you inside of the temple. Unbelievable.
Did we speak
How
about it
people
on
think this is okay.
on our previous episode? I can't remember.
I can't remember too.
That's a really good story. Also, that happened last Kartik, and my wife and I got kicked out of the Krishna Balaram temple because of this. I don't want to talk about it now in detail, but basically, this person uses his authority only to assert his position and kick us out. Like his thing was, "I am the leader, you're out," but there was no dialogue, and he started yelling in the midst of Gora Arti. Like, okay, so now you've forgotten the rule that you shouldn't argue in front of the deity. It's there in the where nectar of devotion. You know,
Hmm.
like you.
Hmm.
It's like it's an ego trip. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different conversation altogether. But um, yeah, like that's on the institutional side that I thought we discussed enough about it, and we can bring it on another episode. But on the side of the devotees also, I was like, we what I want to say is that we'll make mistakes, whether that means something really bad, or eating onion garlic tea, coffee, chocolate, lemon soda. We won't be able to sometimes complete our 16 rounds or whatever rounds you've
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
whatever's your standard. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to with this project is just to offer a different narrative, not to also tell people abandon your institutions and rebel again. No, it's just to offer a more normal, balanced view from someone who's done the institutional thing and also outside the institution. And I'm not perfect. I also have my challenges. I have different challenges coming up at different stages of my material and spiritual life. But this whole thing is just how to try to have like people like you also, like we're trying to do our thing and try to function also in normal societies. Then it doesn't mean that just because we don't seem to fit into that picture of a devotee doesn't mean that we're unable to practice.
Yeah, and I think it's an amazing service what you're doing again because yeah, I mean, it's creating a platform where people feel like, okay, I feel seen now. Like I'm not alone in this. There's other people that are struggling too, and there's other people that have had similar, um, experiences where they've been abused as well. And yeah, I mean, I myself, yeah, I mean, we're working and I tell you, man, I've been thinking about it the past week. The amount of effort it takes me to just pick up my bead bag is the same amount of effort I had when I was in the ashram chanting 16 rounds. Like it felt like nothing. For me to chant 16 rounds in the ashram is like, it's just a given. It'll happen. It's okay. But
Yeah.
now because of work and all these other things that the world is requiring of me, it's so much effort.
So
So I
and
just,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's so true. It's like I obviously can relate to that because I also work, and it's so easy for someone who lives at the temple and lives the brahmachari life to just tell you to shut up and be like, no, you're in Maya, because
yeah,
because that person can't relate to your current circumstance, and the only way out is
yeah,
like you have to become like us, join the temple, live with only like devotees, and that's it.
yeah,
That's the only way, and that's I think we're
yeah,
both trying to challenge that narrative in a way too. And I wouldn't be able to do this without you and others that who are listening, like your support to this conversation is not just one way, and that's what I'm
yeah.
thrilled to have you on the podcast, and I wish we could have more of these conversations together because yeah, like you're saying, just to also make other devotees feel seen.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I feel it's hugely inspiring for me to hear your stories and hear you speak about different people that have come to you and their stories and everything. And yeah, I just hope your listeners don't feel alone in the struggle they're going through or isolated or like, why is this only happening to me? Or why is this even happening at all? I hope they can feel like there's a Sangha where even if it's not necessarily the Sangha they're in, there are devotees out there that understand what they're going through, accept it, and are willing to encourage them from where they're at, like you're saying, they're seen and everything. So Yeah, thank you. Thank
Absolutely.
you for
No,
providing
thank you. Thank you too. Yeah.
this online sangha.
That's what we're trying to call these segments. How was the name? Honest Sanga.
Maybe you know how we were talking when I was in Mayapur about you getting a patch of land and creating a mutt. Maybe this is your
Maybe
mutt.
this is the
Your
beginning.
mutt is like this online sangha starting like this, and then
Hey,
gradually we'll reach out.
don't say this on record. They just they're gonna blackmail me. I
Okay,
mean
okay, okay. No, no.
the no, I mean not.
We can cut that. We can edit and cut.
No, it's just the yeah. That's not like this whole podcast is not just about one more Bhagavatam class, and maybe we're not quoting enough Shastra, or it's not a Bhagavatam lecture. It's not a course. It's just real talk, and all these things come out, and that's what I want devotees to feel, that it's okay to have, like, we're regular people trying to change our lives and trying to give ourselves a chance in this life, in a different way. Like, there's karmi people, like, there, I don't even like to say that term, but whatever. There's people that are non-devotees who are also giving themselves a chance and trying to improve their lives in whatever way they think it's better. But we've been very fortunate to have this chance, like in this life, by the mercy of devotees or whatever. We're in this movement, so
Mhm.
we're just trying to improve step by step. So we should be very mindful of where we're at, what we're doing, what can we do, what can't we do, and not let other people put you down. I mean, and I'm talking about devotees. I'm not talking about non-devotees. Like, you will see, people that are jealous, people that are, envious, people that want to control you, manipulate you, etc. But yeah, that the whole purpose of this is to open that conversation, have a place that people feel safe talking about these things, and yeah, understanding, like you said, like maybe their particular or the current community might not have that facility, but to understand that there are other devotees that feel the same way they feel, or have experienced the things they're experiencing now.
Yeah, beautifully said. Beautifully said. I couldn't have said that any better at all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I've gotten so many reviews for feedback from the podcast in just the last 2 days that there's a lot of things I couldn't add here because train of thought and whatever. But there's stuff that I want to discuss, and maybe we can make a note on it, like mental health. Just yesterday, and I was telling you this earlier today, I got one of my followers sent this picture from ISKCON saying, like, your mental health checklist, and it was things like, I mean, I'll share it on my Instagram, but it was like, oh, have you read the Bhagavad Gita today? Have you learned an instrument today? And it's just like, maybe you're not qualified to give mental health advice.
Yeah, like people study for years and years and years to get qualified to be able to address the mind, and yet we feel because we've been a bhakta in the ashram for maybe 3 years, we understand the mind so well, better than these professionals, that we can help people with their issues, whether it be depression or anxiety or schizophrenia, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, and it's again, it comes from the place, like, knowing, like, hey, this is not my place. So just the same way, like, this
Yeah,
podcast, like, this podcast is not to speak about pure love of Godhead and the higher levels of bhakti. Like, probably there's no not even a drop of bhakti in any of the podcasts was recorded, you know. But yeah, so just to put that disclaimer out there, that if it's just about the whoever's listening for the first time, it's we might not. I'll try my best to quote Shastra more, but
yeah.
yeah, it's just a different
No, I
format.
really like that term that you just saying before, like, and how your whole podcast is under this, like, the honest podcast. I like that. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
just an honest sangha. So next up, just to leave it on record, I would like to just touch upon that, like the whole. Of course, we did on our previous call, but because I saw that photo, I think we could definitely expand more on that, because you said you have stories of friends who have uh, unfortunately committed suicide or are on the verge of depression and all that. So mental health is something we didn't address properly. That, and also other things that make devotees feel guilty, with things like I don't know, things, watching movies or consuming non-devotional content, even struggling with like porn and masturbation and all these things that are not out there because people are just, they're ashamed or it's taboo. So I think we should dedicate, I don't know if you're okay with it, but we should dedicate another episode just about these things.
Def Definitely. I'm really, really keen. Let's do it.
Yeah, just to
Let's do
dedicate
it.
an episode on other things. And if you're listening right now, whoever is listening, just hit me up on Instagram if we've forgotten something. If there's a list, if we can collect a list of things that make devotees feel guilty, to add on of whatever I've said, it would be nice if we can address that, and it would be a really good conversation. Just focus on that. So I think for now we just open up the conversation.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to what your followers on Instagram send to you, and I'm looking forward to the feedback from this. So yeah, thank you for
No,
giving me the opportunity to speak and reflect on the stuff you were
thank
saying
you.
as well, and yeah, looking forward to next time.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on episode 13. Thank you so much for watching. It really means a lot to me. I'm already booking Mamu Thakur for another episode of another Honest Sanga. This time we want to speak about how sometimes devotees seem to be out of touch with themselves and also with the world around them. How labeling everything as Maya is not sustainable, and how that is actually an excuse, just to, an excuse that we put out there so we don't have to deal with the realities of this material world. So we're still having those conversations first, and I'll keep you posted with that. But episode 14 is coming up. I'm already working on it, and I'm going to speak on, let me check my notes. Yeah, balancing spirituality and mental health. And I'm going to bring this idea of whether, becoming devotees or joining the devotional institution makes us somehow automatically immune to mental health challenges. So, if you have some comments, questions, a story you want me to share, something that you want me to amplify or, go deeper, just, hit me up at Jivadoy Journals on Instagram. You know where to find me. Just send me your comments, questions, even criticism, feedback, whatever. And let's have a talk. Let's chat. Let's talk about these things. As I've always been saying, this Jivadoya project is yours as much as it's mine, and you fuel this project. I can't stress that enough. And, thank you. The whole aim of this is to, as I said, to create a space so that we can have those difficult conversations, without judgment, instead of just sweeping everything under the rug. Because like I said, it's not sustainable. So, hit me up at Jivadoy Journals on Instagram. I also have a Telegram group and a WhatsApp group now, since some of you guys don't use Telegram, for my daily readings of the books of the Acharyas. We're currently reading Follow the Angels by, Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And, it's really cool because there's a lot of stuff that we've been reading that connect with what we are discussing in the podcast. So if you want to hear the readings and start your day with a better consciousness or hearing something about Krishna before you go on your daily duties, you're welcome to join Telegram or WhatsApp. I'll drop the link somewhere, or hit me up on Instagram if I can drop the links here, and we'll keep talking. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on episode 14 in a couple of weeks. I think it's going to be out in 2 weeks, but we're traveling soon, so I don't know how that's going to happen, but episode 14. See you soon. Thank you. Oh my God, it's so cold.